Welcome back, welcome back. This is part 2 in my Trilogy unboxing. We are unboxing the Southern Gothic Trilogy of Oracle decks. The first episode, the video before this, the Southern Gothic Oracle, so please be sure and watch that if you didn't have a chance to. And after this, we'll be doing the third one, the Haunts. But right now, we're doing the Southern Botanic Oracle, which is the deck that is entirely about plants in the American South. Southern Botanic Oracle explores the roots, trees, fruits, flowers, and food staples of the American South. These are all hand-painted illustrations by me, and I'm happy to share this with you today. All three of the decks in the trilogy are in this large 7-inch tall box. It is a magnetic closure, like this. Very happy with that. The original one, which came out, the original Southern Botanic Oracle came out in 2023. This is the 2025 reissue. We still have a few of the 2023s left, so if you want to have one of those will be collector's editions because I will not be printing the little box anymore. That deck had 45 cards. This one has 50, so we will be exploring the 5 new cards as well. Inside, almost like the inside flap of a book, I have a quote here from Alice Walker, great Southern Gothic author. "In nature," she says, "nothing is perfect, and everything is perfect. Trees can be contorted, bent in weird ways, and they're still beautiful." I just love that. Especially in this age of AI. My art is not perfect, but at least it wasn't made by a computer, am I right? Okay, the Southern Botanic Oracle has the Magnolia card number 1 on the cover. That used to be the cover of the book, and now I've replaced it with the High John beautiful vine. But now we're going to do the Magnolia. And the inside is very similar to the new Southern Gothic book in format, but it's not the same. It is in color, and you do get a color image of each card with multiple keywords for each one. But the difference between this and the Southern Gothic book is that after the context and the questions to ask, you get plant information. So for those of you who have a deck like this, I presume that you're a plant fanatic and you would like to know exactly what the order, family, and genus is. And the reason being, for those of you who are not into plants, is because, you know, especially with the trees like hickory, the fact that I'm talking about, you know, which order and which family and which genus, because there might be more than one tree that's actually referred to as a hickory. Same with swamp lily. There are a lot of lilies that grow in swamps. So if you are a plant aficionado, you can look up this order, family, and genus and know exactly which swamp lily I'm talking about, which is nice. So I'm not going to read you the book, but I do want you to just kind of get an idea of the feel. There is a full introduction talking about, you know, why I was felt drawn to make an oracle deck about these plants and herb medicine, words to know like hoodoo and voodoo, Appalachian, and guide to the cards, followed by some card spreads, the flowering vine being my big one here. Yeah, and then further reading if you're interested. I have some books that I used that inspired me, and you might enjoy them as well. Okay, so let's get to the box and the cards. I am so happy with this box, you guys. Like I teared up when I first saw the sample. This velvet liner, I mean, it's pretty in all of the decks, but the fact that in this one, it looks like real moss just sends me. It really just sends me. So there's this beautiful olive green here, which actually contrasts with the more Kelly green of the rest of the box and everything. So, just love it. So let's pull the cards out of their nest and have a look. Set this box aside. This reading cloth, this matching reading cloth that you're looking at, is something I designed as well, and I made it for the Kickstarter campaign back in 2023. And I still like to use it when I'm using Southern Botanic. It's kind of fun. I left a space for the card so that you can put your deck right there and everything looks seamless. Okay, let's look at her. So the way this is different than the deck from before, they're all the same cards, okay? So they're all the same size too, actually, is that now we have beautiful green edges. I've always wanted to have edge coloring, and my Kickstarter backers were generous enough that we could afford to do that this time. So it's a teeny bit more grand and fancy. The other difference is that they are borderless. And so now we don't have the line all the way around, and the artwork extends all the way to the edge, which especially on this deck just makes me so happy because these botanic illustrations were really lush. Many of them hang in my house, so I love them, and it's nice to see them bigger. So let's go through them one by one, shall we? Magnolia. Number 2, Lemon Balm, all about balance. I actually painted this from life when I was growing it, but my lemon balm has died. So if anyone wants to send me some tips. Spanish Moss. Butterbeans. Counting and Time Cycles. Pokeweed. See the poke berries? Those make a beautiful ink out of magenta. This represents change and movement. Watermelon, we were just looking at in the book. Responsibility and empathy. That's actually based entirely on the unfortunate stereotype that people associated with African Americans. Instead, we should focus on the fact this is a beautiful, nutritious fruit filled with vitamin C. Solomon Seal, ease and gladness. Hartsabustin. Anytime there was a funny colloquial name for these plants, you guys, please know that I used it. So this is actually a euonymus bush, but people do call it Hartsabustin. So I thought that would be the most southern thing I could put on this card. Roses, of course, do not come from the American South. They originally probably came from China, although no one's really sure because it's such a marvelously ancient flower. I will say that all the cards in this deck are not native to the American South, but they do have some kind of cultural affiliation. Hobblebush, the root of this plant is used in workings to hobble and trip up the devil. Periwinkle. Oh my gosh, if you haven't heard about the Periwinkle project, where they're trying to find African American graves by finding patches of periwinkle where it doesn't belong, then I strongly suggest you look that up. Wild cherry, passion and fire. It's such a wonderful springtime tree. This profusion of cherry blossoms is always such an amazing beacon of spring. And then by contrast, cypress, a very, very sad tree. This one represents sorrow and regret. You often see those in cemeteries down here. Archangel root. Here's a painting of the dried variety. Receptivity and female essence. Ghost pipe. It's so amazing to see these. They look like they belong on Mars versus on Earth. But they represent reliance and friendship because they work in symbiosis with other plants. Joe Pye weed. See my little bee? Perceptiveness and vision. Okra. How many of you didn't know okra looked like this when it's in plant form? They look like little hats. They point straight towards the sky. Stinking cedar. If you haven't heard of this tree, it's because it's endangered and only a few of them grow in Florida. It's also known as gopher wood. Funny story. But I used it to represent vulnerability and threat because it's a threatened species. High John the Conqueror is such an important plant that it makes a couple of appearances in my deck. It's also the Roots card in the Southern Gothic Oracle. This is the plant version, representing power and command. And it made the cover of the box. Oh, almost missed azalea. I have these in my yard too. What person in Memphis doesn't have azaleas? Temperance and calm. They were actually the symbol of the temperance movement back in the day. So, crepe myrtle or crepe myrtle represents life and death. I chose a red one. You can't really miss these. They're the ones that have multiple trunks, and you see them throughout the American South in landscapes. Cotton. How could I forget cotton? So many lessons here, how to even sum it up in a card. But the legacy, of course, of cotton plantations and the enslavement of human beings is woven deeply into this plant. You're probably wearing, I'm wearing cotton. This tablecloth is cotton. We're surrounded by this fiber and this textile, but yet it is just absolutely filled with so much meaning and history. Bluebonnet, if you're from Texas, you'll recognize this. Bravery and sacrifice, which goes along with a native tale. Hickory, the hickory tree, release and letting go. Also, the distinctive smell and flavor in barbecue smoke. Angel's trumpet, Brugmansia. This is a shadow card because this is absolutely a poisonous plant. Represents suspicion and turmoil. Collard greens. Did I say this was about plants in the South, y'all? Wealth and security, like growing dollar bills. The iris. This, of course, is very French. The fleur-de-lis is actually a stylized version of the iris. But this represents faith and hope, and it has for many, many, many years. And settlers brought that symbolism over to the Americas. Black snake root represents boundaries and expectations. This particular root is used in hoodoo workings for that purpose. Maypop. Again, I like to use the fun names. This is passiflora. But if you've ever seen these fun, this is actually a very tiny little flower, but hopefully the butterfly gives you some scale. It's the only food for the frutillary butterfly, so that's why the Gulf frutillary butterfly is on the card. Rabbit tobacco, optimism and gladness. Swamp lily, stagnation and entrenchment. You too can blossom even if you are stuck in a swamp. Sugar maple, information and knowledge. These wonderful little seed pods fly and disperse themselves through the air. So it's like the dispersal of information. Comfrey, I grow this for medicine. It's a wonderful healing plant. Big, fat, fuzzy leaves. Tomato. I do not say tomato because I'm American, so you'll have to forgive me, but it's tomato, actually, in the South. It's not even an O at the end, it's tomato. That's how my mom says it. Get me some of them tomatoes. White pine, the smell of pine in Mississippi. Oh, driving down Highway 61. Longevity, bright future. The hellebore, another toxic plant. Temptation and danger. I just love these things. They're also called Lenten rose or just hellebore. I also grow these in my yard. Toadstools. The Amanita muscaria, which we've all seen. This is when you think of a mushroom with little white dots on the top. It's the Amanita, but we call them toadstools here. Self-discovery. The pawpaw, America's mango, sort of. It actually tastes a little more banana-like. Celebration, fruits of labor. Strawberries. I keep saying I'm going to go to Arkansas Strawberry Festival, but I have not yet. Fertility, youth. Oak, hero, icon. Oak trees are so pervasive here in West Tennessee, especially. Honeysuckle, ethereal beauty, because you absolutely just cannot bottle the smell of honeysuckle, but it is just so delicious. Hydrangeas, very French, but also kind of part of Southern culture and our perception of what is beautiful down here. Some people's, anyway. Gratitude, peace. Tobacco. Controversy. I mean, everyone hates tobacco until they don't, or unless they're addicted to it. And also, it was very much a sacred herb in Native American traditions. So it has, it's a paradox. It is both sacred and deadly. Monkey ball, back to fun words. The Maclura palmifera. This thing has a lot of names, but it's basically weight and rigidity because it is this big, useless plant, sadly. We all like to think that every plant has a really good role to play, and yet this doesn't seem to be worth anything except maybe the impromptu softball game. Star jasmine, also known as Confederate jasmine, but you best believe I was not putting that on my card, although people still call it that. But it is a beautiful climbing vine that represents spiritual gifts and abundance. It's got an absolutely glorious flavor. I'm sorry, scent. I haven't eaten one. Scent. All right, and then here are the 5 new cards. There used to be an expansion pack called the Poisons that had 9 poison cards. And so we won't be reissuing that. That has gone out of print. So if you can find one, buy it. But what I did do is I took some of my favorites, such as Deadly Nightshade, Fairy Lily, both came from the Poisons, and I added some, but I also included the Poisons. So Deadly Nightshade, Atropa belladonna, was one of the poison cards, the crescent moon. Camellia is a new card representing understanding and acceptance. Poison ivy was one of the original poisons. Now, it's not going to kill you, but it is irritating, so it represents profanity and irritability. Wisteria is a new card representing competitiveness and climbing, like climbing the ladder. Wisteria is a very aggressive plant, but it's so gorgeous, you kind of can't get mad at it. And Fairy Lily, mischief and sabotage, like fairies, representing trickery. All right, that was the Southern Botanic Oracle made by me, Stacey Williams-Ng. There are 50 cards, and it is the second deck in the 3-part trilogy that is the Southern Gothic Trilogy. The Southern Gothic, the Southern Botanic, and the Haunts. In my next video, we are going to explore, this is a tight fit, look at that. Okay, nice. Well, at least they won't rattle around, right? In the next video, we are going to explore the Haunts, which is all Southern monsters and ghosts. Stay tuned.